I'm not a GitHubber. I just like the shirt. So yeah, Shrine is a new file upload library, like relatively new. I've been working on it for about a year and a half, and I've worked on it because of like frustrations from our other solutions. How many of you have at some point needed to handle file uploads in your Rails, in your app? Yeah, like most of you. So yeah, like what bothered me is that it's a really common requirement in apps, and I just was struggling with the existing solutions. So this talk isn't meant to be a guide on how to use Shrine. I would like to kind of, I would rather like to tell you like best practices of handling file uploads in Ruby, and which can be ported to other languages as well, and also like to show via Shrine. And yeah, I think it's useful because almost all of us need to handle file uploads at some point, and it's really not easy to do it right. So even if you have a library that handles it for you, it's still good to know kind of what happens under the hood. And my goal is also to show some of the advanced features of Shrine, which are not, which the other libraries don't have. So yeah, as I said, like there are many popular solutions, and when I was working on a pet project, I realized that I have like the most common image upload functionality, and I had the idea of the user experience that had to be there, and all of the server-side code that would support it, but I was struggling with all of the existing solutions, almost if they weren't made for what I had in mind, which was like literally the first thing that I wanted. I would like to give credits to Raphael, which is like the newest, before it was made after Carrier Wave by the creator of Carrier Wave to kind of reduce the complexity. And I was a Raphael maintainer for some time, and there's so many great ideas there, but the only problem was that I found it a bit like too limiting, that it only supports on-the-fly processing, so dynamic processing, which is suitable for images, but it's not really suitable for things like video uploads. So it was a bit lame for me that if I want to do video uploads, then I have to use a different file upload library. So I created Shrine, borrowing many of the ideas from that. Yeah, so I would like to explain a bit so I would like to guide you through building a common file upload flow, and on each step we will enhance the user experience and the performance, and I will explain like what benefits does each of the addition bring. Well, we start just from the basic file input. So when we have a form and the user selects a file, when they click submit, the client, like the browser, will just send the request to the app, and in the body of the request, it will include the whole file content. This is what it's called, a file upload. And on the server side, like most of us are using Rec-based web frameworks, it will be presented. The Rec will detect the file on the server side and will present it as a hash. But you're probably most used to seeing this in Rails as wrapped in an uploaded file object, which just wraps that hash that I showed before. Okay, so once the user uploads the file, we want to save it to some permanent storage, because it's now only saved to some temporary storage. In Shrine, so we just it's most convenient to just store it in the public folder. So this is what we can just configure Shrine to store in the public folder, and we'll load the plugin for the SQL RM. And of course, but if you're using Active Record, yeah, then you can use that as well. You should use SQL. And then we create an image uploader, like for the type, an uploader for the types of file that we're going to upload. And this concept is very similar to Carrier Wave. And finally, we can attach we can create an attachment on a model, which will a virtual attribute which will accept files, and it works in a way that if you give that virtual attribute a file, in this case image, then it will store, it will upload that file, and then it will store the data of that uploaded file. So all of the information to which storage it was stored, to which location, and the metadata that was extracted. So that differs from most of other file upload libraries, which require a separate column for each metadata, which is really a pain in the ass. And this is not much simpler because you have a single column which holds all of the information. And this, having a single column for having multiple columns for each metadata doesn't even work, because if you have multiple versions, what is image width? Is it of which version is that the width? So it doesn't work, that idea. Okay, so this is the same as we would get from most file upload libraries. But so let's start working on the first improvement of retaining files on form Redis place. So what is the problem? When the user selects a file and they submit a form, wait for the file to get uploaded, and they get back a validation error. So this isn't this of course isn't the problem. They just fill in the validation errors, but the problem is that the file is now gone, because the file isn't automatically retained once the validation fails. So the user would have to select the same file again, even though that file was okay, and wait for the file to get uploaded, which really sucks. It's interesting. For example, Paperclip doesn't have a solution for this. I don't know why, but yeah, in Shrine always requires you to have two storages. One is the temporary storage, well, it will store files before validations, and then the permanent storage, which will store file after validations. And these two are separate so that we can shield ourselves from like orphan files, so files which aren't attached to any record. So if someone uploads a file and doesn't, the validations fail, they change their mind, that file will not be attached to anything. And we want to prevent like orphan files because we want to store only files that we're actually using. And this way, if we separate these two storages, we can just clear the temporary storage periodically. And the way that it works, the way that Shrine does it, is that once the validation fails, you can set it up to write Shrine will upload that file to temporary storage, and then you can have it write the JSON data that represents that file, which only holds the information for retrieving that file, which is it's the same JSON data as it's stored on that database column. So that's like symmetrical. And now when you submit the form, only this JSON data, which points to the file, will get submitted. So the submission is instant. And then the user doesn't have to re-upload the file that they already have uploaded. Well, that's one of the basic things that we don't require users to do a slow thing multiple times. The second improvement that we can do is direct uploads. So the problem is that when users select a file and they click submit, they have to wait like they don't know what period of time. It depends on the size of the file, it depends on their internet connection, and that also is lame because the user doesn't know, what should they go for a coffee or, Shrine comes with a plugin for the direct uploads. And just to explain, Shrine is built entirely out of plugins. So every feature that you want to use, which is non-essential, you just load the plugin for that. And the reason for that isn't to make your life more harder, that in addition to using a feature that you have to load the plugin for everything, but it has a nice side effect that the features are isolated. Each feature is one file. And when you're not using a feature, you don't have to load the code for it, which means that Shrine is very lightweight, which is very opposite of all of the other file upload libraries, which include active support, which I really hate. I would like to choose if I want to include active support, because I'm not using Rails. So Shrine comes with a direct upload plugin, which comes with which brings the rack application that you can mount in your router, and that rack application has an endpoint for uploading files. So once you upload the file directly there, it will be saved to temporary storage. So what you can do is you can use a JavaScript library, any of the popular generic JavaScript file upload libraries, and then you can, the moment the user selects the file, you can immediately, before even clicking submit, you can immediately start uploading it asynchronously to that endpoint that Shrine provides. And then when this file is uploaded, you can just write the information about that file, the same thing that we had before, into a hidden field, and which will get automatically submitted with the form, and then the form submission is instant again. So we already noticed like the double role of the temporary storage. One is retaining files on form in case of validation errors. Another one is direct uploads. So as I said, the benefit of direct uploads is that the user has a better idea of how long the upload will take. And what's also nice is that they can fill in other fields while the file is uploading, which is not the case when on synchronous uploads that the URL is just frozen. So they just have to wait it out. And they have to upload the file, the last thing in the form. Because, and this way, the moment the user selects the file, you can immediately start uploading it, and that's really nice for the user. And also, if you're supporting multiple files, if you want to allow users to upload like a bunch of images, then these files can be uploaded in parallel. Next improvement that we can do is to switch to an external storage. So before we were using like just storing the files on the file system, but there are many downsides of accepting file uploads through our app and storing it on the file system. First is that just receiving file uploads uses server resources, like more than normal requests. Whenever, like once the file is uploaded, whenever you want to serve it, like whenever you want to display images on the website, each image is an additional request to your application, which puts your app under a bit more load. And but I mean, there are solutions for this by using by configuring Nginx to serve the files directly so that it doesn't hit your app. But it's still, it's still best that there are less requests on the server. And also for me, the most important downside of file system is that it doesn't work when you have multiple servers by default, because each server has their own disk. So, and then since each requests randomly, the server is randomly selected unless you use sticky sessions, it will likely not choose the server which actually has the file that you're requesting. I mean, there are ways to share the file system between servers, but I mean, it's just something, an additional thing that needs to be maintained. Also, if you're using Heroku doesn't support storing files on the disk. It will let you upload the file, but as soon as you do a deploy, it will erase anything that you've uploaded, which is not which is not the thing that's checked in your version control. And also another thing is that Heroku has a 30-second request timeout, which like on the documentation it says, and this is what I remember from before, that if a file upload takes longer than 30 seconds, you just cannot upload it because the Heroku will time out. And it says also, it mentions that in the documentation, though like lately when I tried, it let me upload file for like minute and something. So, but on the documentation of Heroku, it says that if you're uploading files, that it just won't work. So Shrine, like the most popular external storage is like that people use is Amazon S3, and Shrine Shrine has a storage for that built in, like most of the file upload libraries. But as difference to CarrierWave, it doesn't load the whole file into memory. CarrierWave just loads the whole file into memory when it's uploading. So that means that if you can really handle large files, because I mean, for example, Heroku has only 500 megabytes, like default Heroku Dyno. So if you're uploading files larger than 500 megabytes, like if you're accepting, which is really common for videos, you just cannot use CarrierWave unless you hack it. So that's one thing that we need to change, and the another thing is that we just need to change our direct uploads to instead that they go through the app, that they are uploaded directly to S3. So Amazon S3 supports direct uploads, and this it just requires the server to generate some kind of signature, which is called the pre-sign. And Shrine supports that, and like Refile really blew my mind with this feature, like when I first tried it. So so this pre-sign is just like information on which URL to upload and which parameters to use, and the client just requests the JSON data and makes an HTTP, like uploads the file to whatever the pre-sign gives, like to directly to Amazon S3. Which means that now, like, your app is completely free of handling file uploads. Like, the file is just directly uploaded to somewhere else. So the one thing that isn't really other solutions don't really have, or like at least I haven't heard, is when you're receiving large uploads, there is one more large file uploads, there is one more optimization that we can do on the client side, and that is to allow resuming uploads. So when you're uploading large files, there are many ways in that the upload can terminate. For example, if user is on a flaky connection and they temporarily use the internet connection, the upload will just terminate. Or if you start uploading the file in a cafe, like really big file, and then you realize you need to change location, you need to close your laptop, it's gone. And okay, it's less likely, but if the computer freezes in the middle of upload, so all of these things will result into user having to retry the whole upload, no matter how much it has been uploaded, which is lame. And it's an advanced feature, so it's not lame. Most of people don't support resumable uploads, but if you want to be modern and have great user experience, it's actually really easy to add to your app. Just to like understand, just to explain a bit how it works. So instead of uploading the whole file at once, we just split it into chunks. And upload each chunk individually to the server. So like if any of the chunk fails, for example, due to internet connection failures, that chunk can be automatically retried, and after some time it might succeed if it's just a flaky connection. And this is what's really nice, is that the client, whatever it is, like for example the browser, can just automatically retry that in the background. The user doesn't even have to know that they are on flaky connection and that they didn't have internet in a short period of time. What's also cool about chunking is that you can upload multiple chunks in parallel, so which can improve the overall speed of the whole upload. Just wanted to mention first that, so chunking, like splitting the file into chunks and then uploading each one individually, it isn't something that you just do on the client, like on the JavaScript, and then it automatically works. The server also needs to like know how to accept those chunks, and how to put them together. So in order for resumable uploads to work, both the client and the server need to do their part. So for me, I think the best solutions are either FineUploader or TAS.io for resumable uploads. So FineUploader is a mature JavaScript library. It has loads of features. And what's nice about it is that it also supports resumable uploads to S3, directly to Amazon S3 or Microsoft Azure, which is really cool. And it also, between those two, it's the only one that currently supports concurrent chunking. And TAS.io has it in the protocol, but the official JavaScript library doesn't implement it yet. On the other hand, TAS.io is like primarily a protocol. So FineUploader is a JavaScript library which has a side effect, like some protocol which the server needs to implement. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt you. When you say large files, how big you're talking about?
2 gigs. For example, yeah, anything like 1 gig or 2 gigabytes, yeah. Which is really often, like, people are often raising issues on CarrierWave or somewhere that they have these file uploads. So for TAS.io, like, by what I mean by protocol isn't something complicated. It's just HTTP. So it's just headers and response request and response bodies. It's just something that both client and the server need to like communicate in that same way in order to like achieve reliable uploads. So because TAS.io is a generic protocol, it in addition to JavaScript implementation, since also has iOS and Android implementation, so it's just something that anyone can implement. You can even implement resumable uploads through Ruby. Like you can make a Ruby script which uses the same protocol, which can be useful. And TAS.io is the only one that has currently a Ruby implementation. Like which one of these to use is really dependent on your situation. For me personally, if I control both the client side and the server side, I would probably go with FineUploader. But if I'm just like, if I'm making a JSON API and I want to also expose some things like resumable upload protocol, I would definitely go for TAS.io. So for TAS.io, there was a Ruby implementation when I first looked at it, but it was outdated and it wasn't really easy to change. So long story short, I made my own, and just that I wanted that it supports the whole protocol and that it supports the latest version. So and it's built in the Rhoda web framework. Rhoda is awesome. And it's just a Rack application. It's just and you can imagine it as like a Rails engine if you're using only Rails. So you can either make it a separate application, or you can mount it in your own application. So, and then when the JavaScript just communicates, like the JavaScript client library just communicates with that server, like, and they achieve the resumable uploads. And in Shrine, you just can integrate that in a way that the JavaScript library, when it uploads the file to the server will return the URL where this 2 gigabyte file was uploaded to. So in Shrine, like when you're accepting this upload, you don't want to just immediately have to download it, because the file that's uploaded there is only temporarily there. It will be expired after some time, and it's not like the TAS Ruby server. It's only meant for this initial upload from the browser for the user, but you want to move it to permanent storage immediately afterwards. And Shrine has a solution for this by kind of making a URL act like it was temporarily stored. It doesn't matter that you understand how it works, but like what I wanted to show with this is that this is a solved problem. So you can add resumable uploads. If you're using Shrine, you can add it today, while If you go to paperclip, you will just see a closed issue of resumable uploads. Yeah, no, we won't edit. So, and it's really simple. I mean, this task service server is a generic application. It's not in any way related to Shrine. But what was important for me is that you can integrate it with it. And yeah.
The cache you're talking about, do we have to pay extra every time you want more?
No, it's just cache is just a Shrine terminology for temporary storage, which
when you sign up with AWS, do you have to pay extra because you want to put in more files?
Well, it depends on where you store. So the Ruby server, the one above, is the one that stores the files.
Yeah, no,
so
but you subscribe to AWS, do you have to pay extra? Cache?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But it's not it's the same for the regular storage, but it's something that you can choose. Like you can, and it's something that you can erase immediately. But yeah, if you're hosting that on the Amazon server, or something, then yeah, you have to pay for that server. But yeah, and 10 minutes. Okay. So yeah, so uploads can be resumed in case of interruption. Concurrent chunking can speed up the upload. In the fine uploader maintainer even so like a double speed, double of the total speed of the upload. And checksums, the TAS.io protocol has checksums to ensure that no bytes were lost, which surprisingly happens often when you're uploading large files, that the server receives the request, but just some bytes aren't there. So the client can change the checksum, and then the server can generate the checksum on their side, and if those two checksums match, then the chunk succeeded, otherwise it has to be retried. And the last kind of feature of the Shrine is that the advanced is using background jobs. So when you're accepting files, you usually want to process them somehow. Like if you're accepting images, you want to generate thumbnails, which takes time. And also if you're using an external storage like Amazon S3, deleting files also takes time. Like it's an HTTP request. And if you have 6 thumbnails, that's 6 HTTP requests. So in these two cases, you need to upload the file, you need to delete the file if it's either replaced or if the record that the file is attached to is deleted. So yeah, this is the basic gist, like the basic problem, which I didn't find solved well in other libraries, because yeah, the other libraries have, like I tried Carawave and Carawave Backgrounder, and it's not compatible with direct S3 uploads, direct uploads to S3, which in my mind is an additive feature, direct. I want both upload direct to S3 and I want to process in the background. So I consider these two features additive. So Shrine has, like, unlike other solutions where the backgrounding feature is brought up after the fact, Shrine has this built in, and all of the features have been designed to work with backgrounding, which is really which took an effort. So you need to know in advance how you're going to use it. So you can, yeah, it's very explicit. Yeah, and you can use, you can modify it, you can use any backgrounding library that you want, so Shrine doesn't have to maintain integration for each of the libraries, which is really nice, and is really nice for you as well. So yeah, it's backgrounding just means that it will delay the processing later. So yeah, what's cool is that Shrine also allows you to use the cached version. So first the record will be saved with the cached version, and then the cached version will you can use it as a fallback while the background job is processing thumbnails, which is really good for the user. And yeah, there are many things, many benefits of backgrounding. You should always use it whenever you're scaling something. And I just wanted to show you like a quick demo. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Where's the browser?
here.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe I can put it on full screen and. Oh, okay.
To the
Yeah,
left.
so-
There you go.
okay.
Just look up there.
Yeah. So, I will just make it really short. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I can choose files. So all of this, if we see the network tab. Yeah, I mean, I connected my phone. So if I refresh, oh, okay, I think that. Okay, I'll just try to show at least. So.
Just Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no, I think. Guessed. Yeah, I tried it before, but it couldn't connect.
Work?
Yeah, for some.
Okay. I just gotta visit a web page and then it'll like ask you. Hotel.
It's strange because I use a hotspot always, and for some reason it doesn't work now. Okay.
I believe you. It totally works.
Damn. Okay, anyway, like you can see the demo page on the Shrine website and like all of the things that I talked about before. And yeah, so that's everything I wanted to tell you. Yes. On the flight processing, yeah, good question. So, yeah, Shrine doesn't have it built in, but there is absolutely no reason why not to use, for example, Dragonfly has great on the flight processing. You can use it with Shrine. There is no reason for Shrine to implement its own. So these two libraries can be additive if you want an open source version, but if you want a closed source version of on-the-fly processing, then you can just use Cloudinary. There is a storage for that as well. Yes?
Will it work with frameworks like Anko on the front end?
Shrine is a Ruby library, so anything like, anything that's HTTP based will just work, and it uses JSON like format to communicate. So anything you can just, if you're using any client, can communicate with like Shrine attachments if you just set it up like normally in your app. So you can use an external service for that, like which you probably already know, and Shrine is flexible enough that you can just plug in anything there. So while Caravan and other solutions have like it's a bit limited, here you can just like processing code is just the custom code that you write, so you can communicate with an external service to do OCR or anything that you need. So for upload for Facebook, so that is that is something that has to be, I think, done on the client side, or I mean, it's not, you can definitely plug it in, but there is no need for that to be, I mean, you can, if you can write, for example, a storage for Shrine, which picks up the images from Facebook, for example. But yeah, it's not something that I've tried yet, but yeah, you should be able to definitely like integrate any generic solution that grabs images from Facebook.
How does the chunking work for like a really slow internet connections, like uploading several 5 megabyte chunks in a row? Like it's going to take quite a while for all of those to finish if they're uploaded concurrently. So like if your connection drops after half an hour, but you haven't completed any of those 5 megabyte upload chunks, it has to do them all again. Like,
yeah.
Does it dynamic? Is there a way to dynamically manage that based on internet speed?
Yes, I mean on the client side, I mean you can. I think that from JavaScript you can detect anything like how long does the chunk take, and then I mean this is something that should be implemented in the JavaScript libraries. But yeah, it's definitely something that should be scaled. That it can be dynamically detected what strategy is best to use. Yeah. Okay.